morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Hannah-Lynn Munyasque from BS Ed 3B, and for today, I will be taking part in discussing our action research entitled Overcoming Students' Speaking Anxiety in English Lessons. The part that I will be discussing and explaining to you guys will be the chapter 1, and we will begin with our introduction. Many students feel nervous, shy, or even afraid when they are asked to speak in English in a classroom setting. Speaking anxiety has become one of the major problems in English learning. Because speaking skills are very important and is very essential in communicating and in order to have the academic success and of course for our future careers. So studies show that a large number of English learners experience moderate to high levels of anxiety when speaking. Because of this fear, students often avoid participating in class due to many causes of anxiety such as fear, rejection, mistakes, low confidence, limited vocabulary, and of course the fear of negative comments. However, fewer studies examined what actually happens inside the classroom and how teaching practices can reduce anxiety during real speaking tasks. So, to better understand this issue, our study used a qualitative action research approach where we observed students during English lessons, implemented supportive speaking activities, and gathered students' experiences through interviews and observations. So we also recognize that many Filipino students lack confidence in speaking English because, of course, we rarely use English language in our daily basis of communication. So, as future educators, we believe it is very important to create strategies that will help students to fill in the gaps or become more confident speakers. So one of our strategies that we explored is called activity-based learning. It is particularly through vocabulary games and low-pressure speaking tasks. So these activities allow students to participate actively in a supportive environment without the fear of making mistakes. So down to our rationale of the study, our study was conducted because anxiety prevents students from performing at their best. It causes them to doubt themselves, hold back ideas that may actually be something more, and it also pushes them to struggle in communicate clearly. So if students are to succeed in school, work, or even our daily life, they must develop confidence in speaking English. Therefore, teachers need effective strategies to reduce anxiety and create safe learning environment. So, in this research, we used cooperative group work, guided peer feedback, and low-stakes speaking activities. Instead of putting pressure on the students, these strategies encourages them to interact and gradually confidence building. And we build confidence within the students. So over time, students support practice help. Over time, the supportive practice helps the students feel more relaxed, more comfortable in speaking the English language in participating in class. For our background of the study, recent studies in different countries show that many students experience fear when speaking English. As a second or foreign language, common symptoms include nervousness, fear of making mistakes, reluctance to participate, and lack of confidence. So some major factors that contributes to speaking anxiety includes fear of being laughed at, fear of negative evaluation, lack of preparation, limited vocabulary, low self esteem, and of course, difficulty interacting with other people, such as teachers and peers. These problems can greatly affect students' academic performance and willingness to communicate. We researchers have suggested coping strategies such as preparation, relaxation, um, peer support, and positive feedback or positive thinking. However, there are still a need of classroom-based interventions that can directly reduce anxiety during lessons. For our action research context, um, this study was conducted at Medellin National High School among the grade 11 HUMS students. So, most students primarily speaks Filipino or Bisaya or Filipino in our daily lives. So, and the English language is typically only used during English subject lessons. Um, because of this limited exposures, many students feel uncomfortable speaking English out loud. During observations, students show signs of anxiety such as hesitations, short responses, avoidance of eye contact, and of course, unwillingness to um, speak in front of the class. So, to address this problem, we implemented activity based learning through vocabulary games and interactive speaking tasks. These activities were designed to make learning more relaxed, more enjoyable, reduce pressures on students, and encourage them to participate in class. For our statement of the problem, uh, this study aimed to reduce anxiety speaking among the grade 11 HUMS students during their English lessons in Medellin National High School. Specifically, it sought to understand the following questions. Number one, what is the level of the students' speaking anxiety in English lessons? Number two, to what extent do students participate in oral despite anxiety? Number three, how frequently do students interact with peers and teachers during speaking tasks? And also, number four, what is the effect of confidence building interventions on anxiety significant only in influencing anxiety? So um, that is for our statement of the problem. And now down to our scope and the limitations. This research focuses only on grade 11 UM students at Medellin National High School, where the possible findings apply specifically to students who experience anxiety when speaking English language and may not represent all senior high school learners. For our significance of the study, this research is beneficial to several groups such as students, teachers, and of course the school administrators and curriculum developers. So for the students, it is beneficial for them since it helps learners gain confidence and improve their speaking skills through the supported activities. The teachers will also benefit for this study since it will provide practical strategies for reducing speaking anxiety and encourage participation. For the school administrators and curriculum developers, it also highlights the importance of learner-centered approaches and supportive classroom environments, specifically on English instructions. And that's it for my part. And once again, this is Hannalyn Munyaski from BS Ed 3B discussing our action research paper entitled Overcoming the Students' Speaking Anxiety in English lessons. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. So for our chapter 2, I'll be discussing the review of related literature. So this includes the international and then the local studies, and also the theories and summary of all the findings. So first, I'll start with the international studies. And then based on the different studies, speaking anxiety is one of the biggest problems students face when learning English. Most students feel anxious and then scared when they are asked to speak, especially in front of others. So because of this, they sometimes avoid reciting or participating in class. So researchers found that this anxiety comes with two things. So first is the psychological factors. So it is like the low confidence, fear of making mistakes, and then limited vocabulary. And then for the second factor, it is the environmental factor. It is like pressure from the classmates, and then fear of being judged, and then the way teachers correct their students. So one of the strongest causes is actually the fear of being judged or laughed at. So but the good thing is this study also showed that this can be reduced. So when teachers are supportive and then the classroom are safe, students become more comfortable. Activities like the group work, the pair work, and then the role playing really help because they are less stressful. And also giving positive feedback instead of always correcting mistakes right away can help students feel less anxious. So international studies show that the classroom environment and teaching style really affects students' confidence in speaking. Now moving on to the local studies. Even though the Philippines is known for being English speaking country, many students still feel anxious when speaking in English. So some common reasons are difficulty in grammar, vocabulary, and of course being fear of being judged or laughed at by their classmates. So because of this, students lose confidence and they avoid speaking. So some studies show that even if students have a positive attitude towards English, they still feel nervous speaking in front of others. And to deal with this, students use different strategies like preparing in advance, thinking positively, and then relaxing before speaking, or asking help from others or like their friends. So researchers also suggest that students, schools should provide more speaking activities like public speaking exercises, and then common communication programs, and to help improve the students. So basically, local studies confirm that speaking anxiety is really common, and then the students need both support and also practice to overcome their fear. Next is the theoretical framework of the study. So this study is based on the three theories. So first is the affective filter theory, so which says that the emotions like the fear, anxiety can block learning. So if a student is too nervous, they won't be able to participate well. So and then the second one is the foreign language anxiety theory, so which means explains why students they feel scared when speaking a different language, especially because of the fear of being mistakes or being judged. And then the third one will be the zone of proximal development, or the ZPD, by Vygotsky. So this means that students learn better when they are guided by the teachers or helped by the classmates. And in this study, ZPD, or the zone of proximal development, is the main theory used. For the conceptual framework, it is the mainly based on the ZPD, or the zone of proximal development. So this means that students can improve their speaking skills if they are given a proper support. So in this study, speaking anxiety is seen as a barrier, but through their guidance, the teacher guidance, the group activities, and also the interaction with classmates, students can become more confident. So activities like games, group discussions, and then low pressure speaking tasks are used to help them improve step by step. To summarize everything, both international and then the local studies show that speaking anxiety is a major problem among students. So it is usually caused by fear, low confidence, and then the classroom environment. And because of this, students tend to participate less and struggle with speaking. So, but however, studies also show that with the right strategies like supportive teachers and then the interactive activities, students can improve. But most studies focus only on identifying the problem. That's why this study focus more on solving it using activity-based learning. Lastly, the study also includes the definition of the important words like student anxiety, low confidence, and teacher support, and others. Chapter 2 shows that speaking anxiety is a real challenge, but with the right support and strategies, students can become more confident in speaking in English.
Hello, good day everyone. So this is Maria Dayan Ipel, and today I will be sharing with you our chapter 3 in our action research. So our research design will be the classroom action research, or CAR design, guided by the plan, act, observe, reflect cycle. So this approach allows teachers to improve their teaching practices while addressing students' learning needs. In this study, activity-based learning strategies based on the zone of proximal development by Vygotsky will be used to help reduce student speaking anxiety in English. Now, let's move to the participants of the study. The participants were selected grade 11 UM students from Medellin National High School, specifically from the sections Simplicity, Purity, and Modesty. So these students were chosen because their strand focuses on communication skills, although some still experience difficulty and anxiety in speaking English. Most of them commonly use Cebuano and Filipino, which limits their opportunities to practice English. Now, here are our instruments. So, to gather data, the researchers use 5 instruments: a speaking anxiety questionnaire, an oral participation observation checklist, a student interaction observation sheet, an English speaking performance rubric, and reflective journal. These tools will be used to assess students' anxiety levels, participation, interaction, and speaking performance. Now, in data gathering, before we collect the data, the researchers will be securing permission from the school and inform the participants about the study. First, classroom observations will be conducted to identify signs of speaking anxiety. Then, activity-based learning strategies such as vocabulary games, discussions, and low-stakes speaking activities will be implemented to create a supportive learning environment. And lastly, interviews will be conducted to better understand students' experiences. Now we have procedure. So the study followed 2 cycles of the CAR process. In the first cycle, the researchers planned the lesson, implemented speaking activities, observed students' behavior and performance, and reflected on the results. In the second cycle, improvements were made by enhancing the activities, increasing teacher support, and providing more opportunities for interaction. A final assessment will be conducted after the implementation. So in our data analysis plan, the data will be analyzed using thematic analysis. Responses will be organized, coded, and grouped into categories to identify patterns related to student speaking anxiety and participation. The analysis focuses on qualitative interpretation and will be guided by the ZPD framework. Now, down to ethical considerations. So, ethical standards will be strictly followed in this study. The permission will be obtained from the school and teacher, and participation will be voluntary. Confidentiality and anonymity will be ensured through the use of pseudonyms. The researchers also made sure that the activities created a safe and supportive environment without causing stress or harm to the students. So now I am presenting to you all our Gantt chart. So first, in our week 1, we identified the research problem, and also we formulate research titles and questions. And during week 2 to week 3, we made the chapters 1 to 3, and also we craft a review of related literature. And in week 3, we also added the preparation of research design, action research, and so on. And now here is our references, and of course our appendices. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope you will add some suggestions there, and we are open for it. So thank you and goodbye.